Welcome to the lecture on types of data movements and data availability in cyberspace. This lecture is a part of your paper on communication research. In this lecture, you will learn about the nature of data, different data movements around the world, and approaches and sources of open data on the web. So, friends, as you all know that 21st century is the information age, and it is marked by big data and open data revolution. Internet itself is a graveyard of information where information that is data is stored with a permalink. Permalink is the permanent link under which the web page is stored. Data movements free and universal access to all online knowledge, that is software, news, blogs, discussion groups, etc. And social media posts and open public databases, they are all counted in the open databases. Modern world is the data driven world. It is characterized by the parameters of volume, velocity, format, types and authentication. And as we all know that data is regarded as the most sacrosanct component of any research study. Without it, the study is not possible. And data, whose singular term is datum, is a scientifically recorded factual piece of information which can be appropriated for further analysis. So, this was the basic characteristics of the data. And there are mainly two types of data movements around the world. The first one is called the free data movement, and the second one is open data movement. We will find out what is the difference between the two. So, going by that definition, any software retrieval or analyzing tools, data formats, techniques or commands, freewares, open databases, data format converters, websites, apps, scripts, browser extension, etc. form the ecosystem of the digital media research methods. The data online is either structured either in the Excel format, CSV format, text format, or it is unstructured format like mails, scanned documents, images, reports, videos, etc. So, this is mostly unstructured. As you can see, data, even if it is structured, we have to customize it as per our own research objectives and the purposes, and there are many online free tools available to convert. So, there are two types of data movements, that is free data and open data. So, let us define. Free data is the free to use, but with a few restrictions like non-commercial use, and we have to use it with attribution. And open data is information that is accessible to everyone, machine readable, it is free, reusable and redistributable according to Tran and Scholters in 2005. There are no restrictions to this data. So, historically the open data concept dates back to the Enlightenment era. However, in the era of enlightenment, a few philosophers criticized the idea of state secrecy, that there should not be any state secret. But in the modern times, open data and online repositories gained popularity after 2009. Open Data Day is also an annual event celebrated these days. Most recently, it was celebrated on March 4th, 2017. Proactive disclosure of information by the governments is the hallmark of open data, that information has to be disclosed by the governments beforehand. It has roots in India's Right to Information Act 2005 and Freedom of Information Act 1966 of USA, and various governments and institutions like World Bank, United Nations, International Monetary Fund, IMF. They have open data sets freely downloadable by the researchers. Let us see some databases, open data movements which are freely downloadable, and I am talking about the Government of India's data which was launched as Digital India Initiative and the data can be filtered as per the requirement, and it is having the ready-made visualization for a few data sets, and user can also recommend a data set and upload, and data can be filtered as per the requirement, and all of the Government of India's data is available on the data.gov.in, and this portal has links to the famous open data websites around the world. And the second is the US government's open data website, that is data.gov. So, it is the initiative of the US government's extensive data on climate, agriculture, consumers, ecosystem, energy, finance, health, local government, manufacturing, maritime, public safety, and science and research. So, these are the freely downloadable data sets, totally customized and delivered to you as per your own requirements. And another is the archives.org. It has structured data set freely downloadable from archives.gov/open/ available data sets.html. So, the website has hosts of data sets links for all the US government information, for example, presidential speeches, proposed amendments to the constitution, trade agreements with the different countries, government manual, etc. So, this is a very important information as far as polity is concerned. And the next is the data.gov.uk. It belongs to the British government, and the UK government's open data is available on transport, health, crime and justice, education, society, environment, etc. So, this data is also freely available under the open category, and the data is filterable as per the criteria of relevance of search. For example, the data sets which are most frequently downloaded, and the time frame is also there. If you want to search against a respective time frame between the two time periods, it is also available. And one notable thing is that it has the site analytics too for a few data sets. And the next link is for the CIA. As you know that CIA maintains the whole world's directory on its website. So, link is there and you can go to that, and the description is that this is the world's fact book maintained by the Central Intelligence Agency of USA, and it has very detailed information regarding geography, people, transportation, communication, energy, government, territorial disputes, etc. for every country. So, extensive data is available for every country on a single website on CIA. And next is the github.com. The complete link is there, as you can see on the screen, and the website is the biggest source of open data generated by the users and the governments. The data is put on the GitHub in the source code, and everybody can download for the research purpose. So, GitHub is the world's biggest platform for sharing the source code of various open source programs. In addition to the data sets, it is very good site for sharing the softwares and the open source code. The next is data.worldbank.org. The World Bank's open access to development data is most comprehensive for various indicators. As the name says, it's World's Bank, so every country's data is available as per the various indicators. So, this site provides data sets on government's performances, and a miniature data on a particular country's performance on different indicators is also available. So, Whole world's data is also available cumulatively, and individual countries' data is also available in a miniature format. The next is data.oecd.org, that is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So, this is the organization. It is also another user friendly free resource equipped with online statistical analysis functions and visualization. So, it also has got some visualization function in it, and the data can be filtered for various parameters before downloading, like it can be filtered as per the sector, as per the year, as per another few parameters. The next one is the familysearch.org. You will see that the above website is a good repository of the digitally scanned print newspaper enthusiasts, where all the historical newspapers of the world, and they are sorted country wise, and all the historical newspaper of the world are freely available for the research purpose. So, it is a very good website. Another one is the Wikipedia website for the list of online newspapers archives. And as you can see that Wikipedia has got really cool stuff in a few categories. So, it is one of them. So, it has a list of online newspaper archives or newspapers from different countries, and the links are hosted here for the third party websites. So, you can go and visit the individual websites and download the content of your own choice. The next one is news.google.com/newspapers. As you know that Google has created a very good archive of the oldest newspapers of the world. So, this is the world's biggest collection of very old newspaper editions from all the newspapers, sometimes dating back to 1830 also. The extremely old content is scanned, and the same is amenable to research. Like you can go through that content and search it also, just like a normal text. So, another is news.google.com. This site has the real time and archived collection of world's news. It covers virtually all news sources like news websites of the TV channels, financial newspapers, and news portals, news websites, etc. So, it has got lot many sources, and also the data is further categorized as per its nature. For example, articles, blogs, multimedia, editorial, all types, etc. The user can view the news having a particular word and also not having any other word. So, like you can choose the news story as per the content inside the news. The researchers can find the news from a selected source, that is from BBC, CNN, etc., and can decide the location of the news. The exact phrase search function allows the exact sequencing of more than one words in the search. For example, if you want to search the news story having the words demonetization story, so the query would be selected and the news articles having these two words will be selected. So, the researchers can prioritize the search terms and topics and adjust the news source also. Another very useful feature is the RSS, that is really simple syndication RSS feed function, where the researcher can generate his own RSS link by just choosing the nature of the query. For example, the crime news or global warming, then it can generate its own RSS, and frequency of the news can also be decided. A separate link would be generated and data collected. All these functions give the researcher a complete command over every single word in the news world. So, you are selecting news as per your own choice, not as per the news website choice. So, all newspapers have their data as archive editions open to the data retrieval, also known as data scraping. A few of them have the option of advanced search on their sites. For example, news websites like New York Times have the facility of archived edition search, and anybody can go and search for the past news as per the time frame and the keywords also. So, New York Times has the digital copy of all newspapers since 1851, and it allows searching as per the keyword. So, it is very good for researchers. The another very good website is the Guardian's website. As you can see that it has a archive version also, and when you click the site, then Guardian newspaper of UK has much elaborate archive than its counterparts. So, it has got many functions which were not available in the other newspapers. So, you can access to that. And another good website is the British newspapers archives.co.uk. When you click this, so you will come across the British archives of the newspaper dating back from 17th, 10th till date, and it is at present having 1.9 million pages and 757 titles. I mean 757 newspapers along with around 2 crores of the pages, which is quite extensive. So, the next is the library upenn.edu. You can click on the link, and this will take you to the Times of India's historical archives, which has been digitized from the year 1838 to the year 2001, and the data is searchable, downloadable and amenable to research. Another very good website is the newsrrac.in, as you can see on the screen. It is basically a RSS feed links of all the newspapers of India. So, it is a nice collection of all the Indian newspapers RSS feeds. It is not the newspapers website as a newspaper website per se, but it can be fed into the any RSS reader, and the contents can be read very easily. We come to the blog side now, and there are very good search engines which search the blogs, and you can see the link. Blogs are the center of universe for citizen journalism. Like every citizen is a journalist these days with the advent of technology and having all the cameras and the news capturing devices. So, the latter may be regarded as the fifth estate. As you know that fourth estate is the media, and citizen journalism can be regarded as the fifth estate of journalism. So, there are documented evidences of citizen journalists pulling down the authoritarian governments, like in Arab Spring in Egypt, and the phenomena of blogging is the oldest among all tools of citizen journalism, like Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, etc. They came much after the blog revolution hit the world. The another good website is the search.blogspot.com. It searches only the blogs of the blogger.com, and it is a very good search engine for blogs which are hosted on blogger.com. This is the world's oldest blog hosting platform from Google, and many crowdsourced data is available in this, so it can be searched. In order to search the WordPress, we have a link here on the screen, as you can see, and this site searches blogs hosted on the wordpress.com. The data can be harvested using the Google Power Searching commands and different tools, and it can yield very good results for the researchers. And the next link, as you can see, belongs to the Tumblr. Tumblr is also a very good blogging website and widely used by people around the world and even by researchers and professionals. So, the Tumblr site searches blogs hosted on tumblr.com. as you can see that it is one of the most widely used blog sites around the world. So, we have discussed all the blogging sites which are truly popular around the world, and data on them truly constitutes the interest of the researchers. So, these blog services also provide the APIs, that is application programming interface, in order to give the facility of data harvesting to the researchers. So, API streams you the data, you do not have to pull out the data. Without APIs, retrieving the blog content for the research is a cumbersome task. Without it, it can be done manually, but that is again a very cumbersome task. So, we can apply the APIs in any case, and online apps can read these APIs and harvest the blog data for the researchers as per their objectives, and that data can be used for the research purposes. And we come to the youtube.com. This is the world's biggest video sharing website, and you know that a vast amount of useful visual data is available in the form of videos, and this data can be downloaded, and the videos can be run in any video analysis software for research. So, it is the video sharing website also, and the data inside this is both a qualitative as well as quantitative resource for the researchers. Qualitative in the sense that it has a visual data, quantitative in the sense there are different comments on the videos which can be harvested. So, videos can be downloaded freely and analyzed in the software. So, it is presumed that the next generation of learners would be the visual learners predominantly, and it is largely true for the present generation also. Most of them are visual learners, and very few are interested in reading the fine print. So, not only the videos, but the underlying user comments, view count, likes, etc., to serve a very useful purpose for the researchers, and these are all the research variables apart from the normal video content. So, if you see the YouTube through a different angle of filters, then you will find that you can filter the data as per the date, type, duration, view count, rating, licenses, view quality, and most liked videos, etc. So, it has playlist also where multiple videos on a single topic can be watched, so that a whole sequence of thought is maintained properly. So, videos from Vimeo and Facebook also can be downloaded and imported into the video analysis software. So, this is a new paradigm in the research these days, apart from the normal convention methods of research. So, YouTube video comments can be downloaded with the help of open source softwares which are freely available, and they can be used without any restrictions. They will, you just type the URL of the video and it will harvest. So, this type of data harvesting facility has given rise to the new paradigms of audience research, where the public, that is user, is seen participating and giving feedback on the media content. So, this is the real uses and gratification theory on the part of the audiences, rather than putting the content. The images.google.com is another very good visual communication website. It has very good still images, and with the advent of the image collection algorithms, the visual communication material has undergone a sea change, and this site does not have its own database of images, rather it retrieves the photos from the websites in the real time. So, latest material is available at images.google.com, and the images can be downloaded, harvested, and researched as per the own requirement. So, this site gives the option of applying various filters before choosing your suitable image. For example, you can select images as per the size, as per the color, image type, time of upload, and most importantly the usage rights, which is a very big issue these days. You can't pull the image down and paste, and many lot of things are there. And there, the pixabay.com website, the site offers free images and videos downloads which are copyright free, allowed for commercial use, and without the requirement of attribution. So, most of the researchers, they commit this mistake of taking something from the internet and just applying any attribution or discretion. So, Ziplist.co also, this website hosts the best links to the free resources for photography, audio, icons, graphics, videos, texture and color. So this is more having the biggest ecosystem of all the stuff. And another is flickr.com, as you can see, is another great collection of photos on various topics, but a few uses restrictions may apply here, as the photos may be private. The user comments posted on the photos pose yet another data mining opportunity for the researchers. So that is whole new area of research. Regarding hugely crowdsourced data on social media like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc., a big opportunity lies on these networks for the brand's public sentiment engagement and reaching out to the next gen audience. So data is applicable in more than one ways than we think. And readers' comment to the online newspapers news present a new challenge and opportunity for a researcher by working on a totally new kind of readers' feedback mechanism. So earlier we did not have any feedback mechanism in the print newspaper, but right now we have, and NDTV in its website gives a link to the most commented website news stories, give a separate link to the commented stories with the readers reaction on the media performance, and it can interest the researcher also. The data needs to be cleaned with the help of a Google data cleaner and other freewares before being subjected to the analysis. Like open data sometimes doesn't have full functionality as far as neatliness is concerned. So we can do that. Google Fusion tables create valuable new data set by fusing more than one secondary data sets already available in the public domain. So like we can fuse two publicly available secondary data sets and fuse them, and we can join them in order to make a whole new primary data set, and in no time it can be done while sitting at the desktop. The data can be cleaned, data can be filtered, data can be subjected to many other filters as per own requirements, and the data by default is in Excel or CSV format for the databases. From open databases or free databases, but the new format have come up, that is JSON, and it is applicable for tweets and Facebook mainly. Similarly, PDF, JPG, .csv, DAT, MP4, doc and .ppt are the widely used common data formats which need to be converted into the desired formats before analysis. The data is mostly unstructured, as I told you in the beginning, and it has to be structured and formatted. So the open data enhances the government's efficiency, fights government's corruption, improves accountability. This is a Harvard study which I am quoting. It also leads to more transparency, openness and participation from the citizen side. So while not limiting the benefits to the government sector alone, open data is equally beneficial to all sectors across the board, like teaching and research, manufacturing, NGOs, community workers, media, civil society, analytics industry, etc. So every organization is reaping the benefit of this. So in order to conclude finally, let us now have a quick recap what we have learnt in this lecture. And this lecture, as you know, pertain to the open data movements and the formats. We hope that at the end of this lecture you are well acquainted with the importance of open data movements and its locations and its formats. We hope that this lecture has been helpful to address various problems and challenges prevailing among the young researchers about different aspects of the data. For more details, you can read the module on this lecture carefully and attempt the questions in the end, and you can find the solutions. Thank you.